Hello everyone, my name is Ashley Pierce and thanks for tuning in to my action research project. Here we have my submission page and a contact email. For my first professional experience in the earlier months of 2019, I was placed in Warrington Public School. Warrington is one of the oldest suburbs in Penrith and still remains a thriving sector of Western Sydney. Okay, let's take a deeper dive into what makes Warrington. Although the area has a rough reputation, the dedicated educators instill a passion for learning into the students that attend the institution, and it was very valuable for me to see that firsthand. The school community leads the way with a focus on learning to live. With those words physically lining the hallways, there is a constant reminder of the end goal. The staff place relative, useful, and innovative learning as a priority for their students. The Warrington motto is at school they are safe, they are respectful, and they are a learner. These values are instilled throughout the classroom and a wider school setting with reward systems that value these qualities. The school sees the individual student as just that, the individual, and not an enrolment number on a piece of paper. They adopt a progressive approach that encourages explorative, hands-on learning and implement programs that will assist the students beyond the walls of the classroom. Let's take a small step to the side here and talk about my class. I was placed in an early stage 1 classroom that was all about learning new things and growing as people. The class had a very high EALD student population, so teaching even the basics to kindergarten became even more difficult. My mentor teacher believed in the importance of establishing a routine. I feel this was very effective as these students haven't had a schooling experience otherwise. She did, however, not lack regimented seating plans and encouraged students to use the spaces around the room during the day. I feel this takes relevance from Munn, Sawyer and Cole in portraying the inside a classroom. My mentor teacher aimed to create a collaborative learning environment whilst introducing them to everything new for the first time. As I mentioned before, everything about school is new to my group of students. I had a range of abilities in my classroom and was really challenged in trying to develop my connections with the individual student in an attempt to increase their engagement with their learning. Speaking of engagement levels, I have selected dialogic teaching as my ideal pedagogy that I would like to include to increase that student engagement. Dialogic teaching is as simple as it sounds, communication in the classroom. This is not limited to student dialogue, but also student to teacher conversation. Ideas are shared and relationships are developing. As a teacher, I think it's so important to acknowledge that we too are lifetime learners and that we learn valuable lessons from our students. Sharing and developing knowledge together is something I aim to incorporate as a major component of my practice. Being such young learners, conversation and dialogue is the fallback communication that students of this age would use. I believe that establishing this open classroom where ideas are encouraged and valued shows students that their input is important. My class in particular had students with varying diagnoses of autism, speech abilities were greatly varied, and as the teacher, I didn't want that to be the factor in who is constantly contributing to the classroom environment. And that's why I think that encouraging conversation in whatever way is comfortable is key in developing crucial relationships. A dialogic classroom ensures that I am too keeping on my toes with my students' best interests at heart. The next 3 slides indicate a plan of how I intend to implement dialogic teaching into realistic learning experiences for my students. Following the previous lessons, I am now going to discuss how I plan to take data from these experiences and how this will be useful in understanding the engagement levels within my class. I think work samples are one of the most effective forms of data collection possible. Not only does it indicate student performance, but is also a reflective tool for teachers to make a judgment on whether their explanations were clear enough. Lesson experience 1 and 2 would be perfect to collect samples from as they are pure personal expression. Students have learnt how to express their family histories onto a page and describe their meaning. This, also as the slide mentions, is a demonstration of progression of understanding if students can differentiate between family and immediate family and family history. All of the learning experiences have pivotal conversational elements. As a form of data collection, this strategy can prove stressful for the busy teacher. If I were to implement this, I would be recording answers on the whiteboard during group elements and directing conversation in the right direction during personal time. A lot of the conversation will be started by me as the teacher, but continued by the students. And to be fair and completely honest, listening to their answers allows me to learn things as well. Observation in this case is the silent data. This strategy almost goes hand in hand with conversation for these lesson experiences. It would be important to use observation to see how the students have interpreted the tasks and to determine whether they are enjoying the activity. As you can see, the elements on the slide would be just a few of the criteria that I would be looking for. They would indicate to me that my explanations have been effective and that the students are having fun. Win-win if you ask me. With the data that I have collected from the lesson experiences, it will be very useful to understand the impact of my teaching on my class. Achievement-wise, I will align the responses with the syllabus and see how my students perform. I expect that work samples will be the most appropriate for this. For the engagement side of things, as you can see on the slide, I have put two major questions that I would ask before implementing new engagement strategies. If they can understand what they are being asked to do and responding positively, then I believe I would be optimizing engagement. In order to be useful for my future practice, I would keep a copy of these activities and write a personal reflection. This project has been so informative and effective for me to complete, and I have really enjoyed putting this together. If I were to implement my plan based on the individuals in the class, I would expect to see no real trends, as the achievement levels varied greatly between each student. I would, however, like to see an increase in the enjoyment and the love for learning. They are an inquisitive bunch, and I think they really would have enjoyed these activities. As a professional, this experience, as I mentioned, has been so helpful in changing and improving my practice. I have found that there are very two specific AITSL standards that these activities correlate with very well. Standard 1 indicates a knowledge of my students and how they learn. Not only am I quite literally finding out about my students' families, but I am also seeing which strategies work for my class. Standard 4 is also really appropriately placed for this experience. I have shown my interest and ability to create an engaging and effective learning environment that they enjoy participating in. Thank you so much for tuning in, and I am so looking forward to getting back out there.